So it's another good day, waking up, feeling calmer, and ultimately lighter, in my body, in my mind, and my heart. Um, and, just continuing to take things slow and to really just like allow for things to come through and to really recognize it. It's been a really productive morning, and I've only been up for a couple hours. Um, where I feel like I'm making progress on a lot of different things. But so I just kind of was doing some reflecting on, what I'm calling in, obviously, and it stems around a lot of things. It's love, it's funding, finances, and support, and like a team of people who are kind of aligned with with this vision. Not just my vision, it's the vision that a lot of us share about like the way this world can be and should be and is moving towards. But anyway, so I'm kind of like reflecting on this stuff, and about the ability for me to truly receive. And it led me kind of down this path of like looking back to all the times. Well, let me try and, okay, so it took me down this path of really acknowledging again, but from a different space, of how every time, specifically like a man wanted to support me and help elevate me, there was always a hidden agenda behind it, and I think we can all guess what that agenda was. And it's been happening for, 2016, since all that stuff started. So it's all going along with this whole like cycle, and sorry for all the noise. It's going along with all this stuff that keeps coming up. It's all fitting into this specific time frame and timeline. But actually it stems back to childhood, and I'm just now kind of making that connection. But yeah, okay, because I'm not going to go into that right now. But what I do want to kind of like, what I felt called to kind of express and share is like, I think I have had a lot of distrust with trusting and believing that somebody could genuinely want to give to me, support me, provide for me, help me, elevate me, whatever, without their own underlying agendas. Okay. Across any realm or area, like, because I was listening to a tarot reading this morning, and she was talking about something about like a team coming in or whatever, and I just like was listening and then going into my own thoughts, and it's like, I want somebody that sees my potential and genuinely like wants to help me bring this forward by, funding or whatever. And then literally the next thing she said was like, I see funding coming in. Like literally right as I finished that thought, that came through, and I was like, okay, cool, love it, thanks for the confirmation. Ask and it shall be given. But anyway, so this kind of led me down that whole path of like, okay, what I want and what I'm calling in is, I want it, and I'm calling it in to come from a place of true, just like love, not like unconditional love. And love doesn't just mean like romantic relationships or family, like love is like who we are. That's our very essence. That's what created us, and that is what we go back to when we die. It's love, pure love. And it's like, I was just kind of going through my mind, like, okay, I'm gonna focus on what I want rather than like trying to explain what I don't want as well with it, because like what I was doing before previously was like, well, I want this because I don't want that, or I want this, but I don't want it to come with this, like strings attached or certain expectations or whatever, and like one of the big things that I was thinking about earlier was like, I just want somebody to like like understand where I'm coming from, and to see what I'm trying to do, and to see the potential in me and my energy and my words, thoughts, everything, and who wants to just give, you know, without this 3D world mindset, especially capitalistic. I'll even say capitalistic world of like, okay, well, what's the return on investment, and when can you pay it back, and when can you do this and that and that and that and that, you know? I just want somebody who shares that similar mindset and energy of like all in the divine timing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I think that's where a lot of us have like struggled or have been disappointed, is because we've been giving from a place of expectation of what we're getting back, you know? And when I think about it, this is something like, as far as like just wanting somebody to see my potential and wanting somebody to like see that and want to support me without the strings attached, that literally has been a thought of mine since I was younger, you know? Like, again, it always comes from a more like, you know, innocent, naive place of like, you know, I want a partner who does well for himself and wants to take care of me and provide for me and spoil me, you know, like, but, and I do still want that, but, you know I can't just strictly focus on that, because there's more to me than just that. I'm not trying to be like a housewife or anything like that, like not just that, at least, you know, like, and I know that it's important for the person that does come into my life that they recognize that, and that they fully support me, and that they know and trust that like I have too much that I want to do and accomplish to just be staying at home and being supported, you know? So yeah, support for me comes in a wide range of different levels, and I fully trust, you know, that's another thing that I've known since I was a little girl, that I wanted and was destined to have like a true love, true divine counterpart who not only wants to like support me and like encourage me, like not just financially, but like with my vision and my dreams and all that stuff, but who actually wants to build with me, you know? And that has led me down some different roads with various guys that I thought that was going to happen with. Okay, but so the point that I want to kind of get back to is about, you know, especially over these last 8 years, I have, every time that a man would come into my life from a professional standpoint, and want to help me or like offer support or like guidance or help lift me up or elevate me or whatever, it's ceased to fail. When it comes to like specific big ones that I'm thinking about, it's always come with their own expectations, agendas, wants, and desires. And again, use your imagination, but I think you can figure out what I'm talking about here. So ultimately, though, that was happening so much, and I eventually I recognized that, and I just kept like, why is this happening? You know, like, why does this keep happening? You know? And so eventually, that's when I kind of realized, like, okay, I got to just do it on my own, you know, and protect myself from those energies, you know. And so I did. I became very distrustful and skeptical when another guy who was in some kind of position of power would come in and try to offer me help or want to work with me or do whatever, you know. And ultimately, and because it wasn't just with guys, this happened across every realm, like I've said before, you know, where people see my light, see my potential, see my healing power, whatever, and even if, because I didn't fully see it within myself truly, they would take what they could get, take advantage of it. But again, I realized that this is all coming up right now because it's all around the energy of trusting that I can and I will receive what I want and what I need without these strings attached and without some underlying agenda that actually doesn't serve me, doesn't support me, and only ends up giving to the other person. Because what would happen is, like, whenever I would start to recognize this in like a certain person, a guy or whatever, I would start to pull back. I didn't always have the confidence to like say anything because I was younger in a lot of these cases. When a lot of these things happen, I was also new and eager, and then we're going back into the whole like lack and desperation, and like, continuing to allow these like toxic situations into my life out of fear that like it was my only chance, or that I'd miss an opportunity, but what I am now going to be focusing my attention on, now that I've kind of really purged a lot of that emotional ancestral stuff, and I think some of this actually still might be connected. I don't know enough about like the specifics of my ancestral lineage to know, but I mean, like, we've been living in a patriarchal world, where men, especially men in power, have definitely taken advantage of their positions, hence, i.e., and I don't like bringing these kinds of things up, but it's valid, like the Me Too movement, where in the entertainment industries and just industries in general, men of power would use their power as like an authority, as like a way to like threaten and scare and ultimately like force somebody into a situation that they didn't want to, because they didn't feel like they had any power to fight back, to say no. They were afraid, they were, fearful, like, so there's been a lot of those energies of guys and men throughout history, again, in power and just any position, but doesn't have to be like, the big CEOs or the big, entertainment executives. I mean, any position of power that a lot of men have held at some time or another have used it and abused it. And honestly, I think that's where a lot of this like distrust has come from in the world, I mean, and it goes the other way too, guys. I'm not just like, this isn't like beating men, because I've had women do similar things, like, granted, their agendas weren't necessarily to, but they had their own agendas as to why they wanted me to work for them or with them or whatever. And it did, like, it really damaged my trust for a long time, and my belief that like, that there actually are people out there who can and want to give without, again, their own underlying agenda, or to get what they want and desire, and for them to get their own pleasure out of it. And I think that's why it's been, so difficult for me to really switch my mindset into this place of like being open to receiving, because like there's still that underlying feeling within me that's like, okay, but what do they want? Can I trust them? Are they doing this genuinely because they want to, period? Or are they doing it because they see some way for them to get something that they want, and like, here's the thing, if the feelings are mutual, great, like, especially from like the, romantic business situation, if the feelings are completely mutual, that's fantastic. Again, that's what I want. But every single time that has not been it. I've like, with all those guys in the past, no attraction to them. Like, we're just, ugh, a lot of times it was older men too. Like, no joke. They were at least 20 plus years older than me, and so that, and then, yeah. I remember having thoughts when I was younger. Some guy hit on me at like a bar when I was in Scottsdale, and this guy was clearly 50s, maybe late 40s, but like 40s, late 40s, 50s, and I was like 23. And then I remember like him and like his friend, who was also an older guy with like an olderish woman, older than me at least. She looked older at least. I remember him, like, them saying like, you look like you're 19. and like getting excited about that too. You know what I'm saying? Because like I've always looked a lot younger for my age than I am. And I just remember thinking like, okay, I'm in a bar and you think I'm 19 and you're still like trying to pursue me. Like, okay. You know, so I've had a lot of those kinds of experiences where especially older men would try to come in because of their own wants, needs, and desires, and try to use that as a stepping stone, or like a ploy to like get me to like conform to what they wanted without actually giving me what I wanted. So yeah, really, you know, I just kind of wanted to share this because, again, I think a lot of us are kind of going through that in our own ways, you know, like this feeling that like nobody out there truly can, will, or want to help us and support us from a place of just unconditional love and support. You know, outside of like our, maybe what we expect, like a family or a friend or, you know, whatever. Because yeah, that's popped up a lot and has made it difficult for me now and just in the past to even think that that really was possible, which is why I've like, you know, felt such a drive to like have to go after and pursue everything on my own, which, you know, I know that like sounds like, yeah, go for it, girl, like get it. And it's like, yeah, no, I get that, but like that's still an old, like old earth, old paradigm that we are all living in, that like the only way to get what you want and to achieve greatness or, you know, your dreams is by like, you know, digging in and just doing it on your own, accepting no help because you can't trust people. And that's why a lot of us end up not continuing what we do or giving up, because honestly, we are not meant to be doing this stuff alone, you know? Like, you know, you might have to do certain things up to a certain point on your own, of course, you know, build that confidence and that trust and that vision within yourself. But like, when the time comes, you should feel like you can and that you want to accept help, you know, because I know that there's areas that like are not my strong suit and that like, that I honestly just don't enjoy doing, and that actually take away from my creative energy and kind of get me caught up in my head. And so it's like there's certain things that like I know when the time comes, I am hiring somebody for that, you know. I'm passing those things off because I don't need to do them, you know. Like it's not that you have to do everything on your own to get to a certain level of success. And and that's something that I have been like working to like break free of because of this like hyper independence that I've ultimately cultivated within myself because of that feeling, you know. And that's actually been coming up a lot, you know, for me, is like, you know, this feeling that like that it's just me on my own and I'm the only way that anything is going to happen. You know, I'm the only one who's gonna like see the vision and like make it happen. But like when I really like sit with it, it's like, I don't want that. I don't want that. I want, you know, people to work with, to collaborate with. And again, I'll say it again, I want a partner who wants to come in and fully support me for everything that I am and everything that I'm doing. But I do see why it was important for me to like come to this place to really like acknowledge this and like from this standpoint and to share it, you know, like because I was just like journaling this stuff, and you know, as I'm journaling it, I'm like, you know what, I feel like that's something that someone needs to hear somewhere at some time, because it doesn't get spoken about very often, hence why the whole Me Too thing just came about a few years ago, you know, when it's been happening for literally eons. People are finally like feeling confident and strong enough to stand up and to put their foot down. So yeah, I just felt like this was a good message to share, you know, to put it out there to the universe that like, yo, I hear you, and I fully agree, and like I agree with it, and I agree with like needing to like shift this and let it go, and then also like just to share it, and to do that by sharing it, and then to share it with others who might be kind of feeling the same way, and like ultimately allowing themselves to be held back because didn't they don't feel like anybody really cares, or that anybody really is that good or has that pure of like intentions. Because yeah, that's been an ongoing theme throughout my life, especially once I really tapped into my intuition and trusted it, you know, because I was made to think that I couldn't trust it, from a very early age. But as I've really gotten back into it, it's like, no, like what you're feeling around a lot of people is true. And it sucks to like have to see that and to accept that. But just because that's all that you have really been seeing doesn't mean that the thing that you want doesn't exist. And that it doesn't, that it's not coming for you, and that it doesn't want you just as much as you want it. So, yeah, it's interesting. I feel like I probably still have more to like kind of go through, but really, yeah, I'm not even gonna overthink it, because that's what I would do. I would overthink it, I would analyze it, you know, be like, try and write down like every time it happened, which I don't even have the energy to do that, and I don't think it's necessary. You know, I think at this point, you know, I'll reflect on it a little bit more and really just like solidify and catalyze like what I want, knowing and trusting that it is there, and maintaining that trust, you know, because I would get to that place where I could believe it, and then all of a sudden like something would pop in that would try and like throw me off and make me feel like, you know, I got to do it on my own again. But I have been getting a lot of messages for a while now saying that like someone is coming in, and ideally it is like my, you know, divine counterpart. We could just start building our empire together, but also just staying open to the idea that someone else or other people could end up coming in somehow, with pure hearts and pure intentions, and want to support me, and without feeling like, you know, this pressure to like perform and to like return the investment, because again, that goes against this whole just accepting to receive, you know, or being able to receive and allowing that in, you know, because when you are somebody who has just given and given and given and overgiven and done all this stuff, again, from this place of it just being who you are, and because you want to help people, but without receiving that back, it's really important for you to be able to get yourself to a place where like you can receive, and you will receive, without having to feel this need or this pressure to, like I said before, respond and give something back. So, yeah, I feel like that's kind of it. That's the message, you know. I like when I'm in the moment, I feel I'm just channeling, I'm just kind of like letting thoughts come through and letting it come out. And then I always am like, oh my God, does this make any sense? Like, is it flowing? Does it make any sense? Because I feel like it's just like I'm just jumping, you know. But when I've gone back and rewatched like the episodes so far, especially after I finish recording it, I'm always like, wow, it actually does make sense, you know. It actually does flow. And like, you know, if you're really willing to listen and like understand what I'm saying, it does make sense. And like for me to be able to like record in one take, you know, minus like yesterday's little weird thing, but I trust that was all happening for a reason. But for me to be able to like record something in one take and just speak again authentically from the heart, you know, and to be able to like what I'm seeing and to like what I'm hearing is like massive for me. Because because for the longest time, I could not stand to hear my voice recorded. Seriously, like I would cringe when I would hear it and be like, ugh. I definitely did not like being on camera. I just felt like I never took good pictures. And I didn't like all the different angles that would when it capture me on video and stuff. But like, I've worked through so much of that where like that stuff really, it really doesn't faze me anymore. And if it happens, I'm like, okay, fuck it, whatever, like nobody has 100% perfect angles. And if they do, a lot of times they maybe weren't completely natural. But again, everybody's got bad angles, So like, yeah, I've really kind of learned to like let that go. But even bigger than that, aside from like how I feel about myself when I'm doing these things, it's about the message more than anything. And that's really what drives me and is like motivating me to keep doing this kind of stuff and to keep doing it without, again, holding myself back and like allowing those like false imaginative negative thoughts in, trying to tell me it's not good enough, or you don't look right, or that sounded weird because you stuttered or stumbled or fumbled or whatever. Like I'm done with that, because honestly that stuff is so exhausting. And that's what happened with like my earlier podcasts, as I was trying to make it too perfect, because I'm a recovering perfectionist, which I used to wear as a badge of honor. But I fully understand and realize now how it was actually, it's a wall. And it's actually a big form of like insecurity within oneself, because what you're saying is that you, as you are in any given moment, isn't worthy enough. So you have to constantly fix and adjust and like critique and judge yourself or someone else or something to be perfect. And I actually have an episode from earlier. I haven't watched it in a while, but it's about there's beauty in the imperfections, and kind of like what brought me to that clarity. And there, it's so freeing. And it's so kind of fitting that this is where I'm heading as far as like the things that I'm talking about, because there is this whole concept and an idea that I want to share, that I've been building up to. I actually recorded a version of it back when I was still doing the original podcast, and it was kind of a different take, or I shifted how I was doing things, but again, the whole perfectionism thing kind of was coming in, and it just wasn't, I didn't feel good recording it, but then, that was like April or something. And then, as you may have heard in some of the last videos, like May is when like everything shifted for me, as far as like leaving LA, going to Europe, going through this like everything. So I know that I'm going to be posting that soon. And it's all about freedom, about total freedom, to be specific. And I kind of go into and explain what all that actually means and what that means to me. And I think I had to kind of really wait, because in order to feel that, like, in order to be in total freedom, it requires you to like accept yourself completely and fully and wholly, exactly as you are right now in any given moment. So yeah, I think this is a good place to stop, and I hope it helps, as always. Everything I share is in the hopes that it will help provide some clarity, insights, perspective shifts for you, to help you maybe understand and navigate your circumstances or what you've been experiencing, and also maybe encourage you to reflect on that stuff, because again, it's only from that reflection space and place that you will actually be able to start like understanding things, and then healing them, like accepting them, and then healing them, and then shifting them, and then moving away from them completely. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep holding on and keep staying strong, and you'll get to the other side.